the Legion of Honor.
Thank you.
Yay.
I think that we've all been too cooped up with COVID, and it's wonderful to be in person and have so many friends here in one room. And I also, you know, we know that we're also broadcasting on Zoom or on some, so we're like have an audience out there on the internet listening to us too. So.
Yes, I think at this time we're welcoming our audience online to join us right now. So hello everyone and welcome. Well, I need to introduce you, Marilyn. They've asked me to introduce you. Of course, you know Marilyn, but tonight I'm joined on stage by Marilyn Simons, co-founder and president of the Simons Foundation from 1994 to 2021. The Simons Foundation funds research and educational programs in mathematics, physics, and life sciences in the United States and around the world. Through the Simons Foundation, Marilyn has played an essential role in supporting the IHES's ambition to develop greater financial independence. Over the course of 2 decades, the Simons Foundation has given more than $25 million to both specific projects and to the Institute's endowment, and has recently committed to a new major gift of 25 million euros to IHES over the next 10 years. Yes. Together with her husband, Jim, Marilyn will also become the new co-chair of the Friends of IHES at the end of this year. Yay.
Thank you.
Both through the Simons Foundation and on a personal level, Marilyn has supported programs promoting increased diversity and improved equity in science and economics. Marilyn, welcome.
Thank you.
Let's start by, I must offer profound congratulations on receiving the Legion of Honor Award. And yes, and this means that you're joining the ranks of extraordinary men and women, Emmanuel Charpentier, Alexander Fleming, Jane Goodall among them, who've made real and lasting impacts on humanity over the 2 centuries. What were your first thoughts when you heard the news, and what does it mean for you now going forward?
I was deeply touched and kind of greatly honored to think that I could get such an award. It's so venerated, and, you know, to be able to receive the Légion d'honneur, it's mind-boggling, but it's wonderful, and I love my medal. Isn't it beautiful? I didn't realize it would be so big. I think I'll wear it to the office.
Yeah. I think you had some recollection of when you were in high school and you went to Paris, right?
Oh, yes. So
reminded you of that, right?
Yes. I've always been a very big fan of French culture. I wanted to study French when I was in high school, and then I went there when I was 17. And as I said in my remarks earlier, my mother certainly didn't intend for me to have as much fun as I did. Yes, I learned a lot of wonderful things about Paris when I was there. And I learned some French too. But now that I feel more French, I feel partially French with my Légion d'honneur. I'm going to really work hard at my French. So.
Well, thank you for that. The award acknowledges your efforts to support the collaboration between France and the United States, but together with Jim and the Simons Foundation, you've also supported fundamental research globally. And I wonder if you you might comment on that. The science has this tremendous power to connect people across the borders, and if you could speak a bit about internationalism in science.
Well, like, you know, I was a normal American girl, and I grew up and I went to college, and I thought of a university as a degree granting institution. And when I met Jim when I was at school, I got to understand the meaning of research. And, you know, Jim profoundly loved research. And traveling with Jim, I got to meet people around the world who were engaged with pushing the frontiers of our knowledge. And, you know, when we were fortunate enough to find ourselves in a position to be able to make donations to support different things, Jim and I agreed that supporting fundamental research in math and science was really key to what we wanted to do. And, you know, if you want to move knowledge further, you really have to find the best people around the world and really encourage their efforts and promote their research. So.
Thank you. And I think continuing along that line about finding the best people and promoting their research, it seems that we're talking about science naturally fostering inclusion and how it provides a common ground that transcends race, gender, borders, nationalities. But tonight, we're gathered here to emphasize the need to include women in all the scientific conversations and celebrate their presence in fundamental research. And I'm wondering if are you thinking that's in any way paradoxical, perhaps?
So, you know, my background is in economics, and I look at the history, human history, how we've progressed through the ages, and you know, I really know that early on, hunter-gatherers, then we had agrarian societies, we had a division of labor that was suited more to physical prowess. And, you know, we constructed our societies like that. And I have to say, when I was a young college freshman and I took my first course in Marxist economics, I know Karl Marx talks about how your fundamental technology determines your superstructure, your society, and your politics. Well, we've come a long way. And in this age of information, we, you know, can all participate in the work being done. And, you know, as an economist, I think about work. What are we producing? How are we producing it? And who gets what's produced? And, you know, now in the field of mathematics, basic science research, we can all participate in producing the work that's needed to be done. And there's so much work to do. When Jim was, when he got his PhD, I love the story he tells about how one of his uncles said, "So Jim, you got your PhD in math, what are you gonna do now?" And Jim said, "Well, I think I'll do some math research." And his uncle said, "Isn't it done?" It was, so we have a lot of work to do. And I think, you know, here we are in the 21st century, and we have so much to advance, and we are standing at the threshold of so many new discoveries, and everyone wants to participate in that. And everyone, we need to enable it. As one of the earlier speakers was saying, you know, if we are losing part of the workforce, then we're losing the opportunity. And I remember reading about Bill Gates talking, and it was a country in the Middle East. And he was speaking to a group of all men, and he was asked the question, how can we have, you know, a successful economy like in America? And he said, well, you're not going to get there if you don't let half your workforce work. So I think we want to foster that, encourage that, and let flowers blossom and find the potential and unlock it.
Yay. I wonder if we might continue a bit on that path, if you might speak to a bit of how you see the women of IHES, how they are positioned to address some of the biggest issues facing our world right now.
Well, I think that they're in a wonderful position to be role models and mentors and advocates to promote and encourage women to go into the field. I listened to a conference that IHES held about women in mathematics research, and during the conference, you know, there were different panelists, and they were talking about personal experiences, and somebody asked the question, what should we tell young women about, you know, what it is like to be in the math community? And Lorce Ramon got up and she spoke with such enthusiasm, and she said, we should tell them it's a wonderful community. That she said, I love working with all the mathematicians I get to work with, and that there's so much work to be done, and it's a wonderful group of people to work with. And I think getting that message out would be really encouraging. So
that's a fantastic message. I understand that at this point we're open to taking questions from the audience. If you have a question for Marilyn, someone will be around with a mic for you. Just raise your hand if you have a question. We have no question. I don't see any hands. I have more questions if we want to do that. Well, let's do that. I'm wondering if you might comment on, we were just going along this path about women. Are there some other things that you would like to say to young women to encourage them in their STEM careers or their STEM studies?
So I'm not a mathematician myself. And so I had a few conversations with some mathematicians to ask them about this question. And, you know, I've had more generic kind of answers to that question, you know, network, build your relationships. But I really liked one comment I heard was to find what you're good at, to know yourself, to understand that you have qualities that will, you know, you can bring and hone your skills, and have the confidence to know that there are many ways to contribute, and you can find through using your voice and your skills and understanding what you're good at, you can find ways to contribute to knowledge and research. And I also heard that it was important. Go to lectures, go to conferences, go to meetings, meet people, and talk with people. Find your collaborators, get involved. That's how you'll not only build networking relationships, but you'll build your own confidence in your abilities. So, okay, did you want to ask?
You're done, I'm sorry.
Please.
Sure, absolutely.
Hi, Marilyn.
Hi, Richard.
I found it fascinating that both you and my dear wife, Letitia, seem to have chosen the economic/business side for similar reasons, that you both had an interest in math, but were kind of steered by society a little bit away, and yet you both are still passionate about math and contributing to math. And so I'm curious if you have a thought or a comment on the generation of women who you both seem to represent, about how they can best support math and fundamental research going forward. So not the young kids, but people of our age who who still care and want to make a difference.
Thank you for that. Well, Letitia shared her experience, and you were saying that you felt steered away. But when I went to college, I just fell in love with economics. It resonated with me because of certain personal things in my background. Being a child of the Cold War, I wanted to understand the mystery of communism and centrally planned economies. And anyway, it definitely resonated, and also the vagaries of the business cycle when I was growing up. But I always did love math, and I love that aha moment in mathematics. And how to support math? Well, the Friends of IHES, I feel, and once, yes, I really live vicariously by listening to math lectures, by getting to meet mathematicians. So I think that's been my way to stay connected. And one thing I've said about mathematics is also the opportunity to talk to mathematicians. They just are going to think very deeply and more profoundly even about the simpler things in life. And I mentioned when I first met Gioia, and I mentioned in the ceremony how much I really relished the book that IHES wrote or published, The Unravelers. And I'm going to say something about that I read in that book that I've paraphrased many times, and I think it really speaks to the importance of mathematics. So Misha Gromov writes something in that book, and it's called The Four Great Mysteries. And he's so articulate, he writes beautifully about singularities. I'm not going to try to reproduce what he wrote. I put it really simply. The four great mysteries. What is the universe? What is life? What is the mind? And why is mathematics the language we use to talk about these things? I think that speaks to the importance of mathematics.
Well, we're coming to the close of our discussion, and I've been asked to ask you one final question that relates to our the central topic tonight, which is, what are your thoughts on how scientific institutions in general can improve to support women's roles in scientific breakthroughs?
I actually think we are trying in a lot of ways. And another mathematician I spoke with, I really could appreciate. I learned about the novel of ideas, where you could have two truths that exist together at the same time. And one is, we're not doing enough, and the other is, we're doing a lot. And I think that that's true, where, you know, things don't change immediately. I think that things are changing, and that we are all looking at possibilities in new ways. So I think there's a lot of hope and optimism for the future, and look forward to seeing women and all members of society, whatever their background or religious preference, religious background, ethnicity. Well, you know where I'm going. Just
diversity.
Yes, that we're becoming very accepting of diversity.
Yes.
So,
Wonderful. It's been wonderful talking with you.
Thank you.
You know.
And thank you. Woo!